Hello, boys. This is Dr. Infinity, and welcome back to the Trough.
Well, come on, men. 3 cheers for her grace. Hip, hip.
Hooray! Hooray! Hip, hip! Hooray! Hip, hip! Hooray!
Happy Sunday, everyone. I know some of you are looking to check what day it is and think it's Wednesday. No, it is in fact Sunday because I promised to have a Trough video out on Sunday. Therefore, it is Sunday. So, this video is not late, but I have 2 books to review this time. And doing this a little late on Sunday evening, so I might be a little faster than I like, but I'm still going to try to do a decent review of A Hot Dose of Hell and One Smoke Broken. And I'm going to give a brief overview before I get into it. A Hot Dose of Hell is a strong recommendation, and One Smoke Broken is a recommendation, but it's a bit softer. I'm a little more reserved with it, but I'm going to get into it without spoilers per se. Hot Dose of Hell. This is about a woman named Rhonda who's looking for her sister Roxy. She is traveling to this kind of bad, kind of rundown area with a lot of junkies and addicts and prostitutes and lowlifes in general. And she's looking for her sister while she has to team up with these kind of SJW kind of people because they do kind of an outreach program, and there's something going on with some new drugs being brought into the market, and we get a few different little perspectives on it, but this new drug is turning addicts into something else. So they're dealing with that, and there's also these 2 guys who are handling it from kind of a criminal organization standpoint, and they're interacting with trying to clean things up. So it's about Rhonda looking for her sister, trying to bring her sister home to live with her because they're kind of estranged. And I like this quite a bit. It doesn't pull its punches. It's very much a fuck you to leftists, and I like it. It's very good. It's funny, too. There's quite a lot of good writing in here. And this was very enjoyable. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it because I thought it's like, because you see like the front and you got like the COVID mask and all that. And I'm like, is this going to be a little, I don't know if overtop's the right way, but like there is a way of handling it where it's not very like interesting or funny or creative when you're kind of attacking that side. You know what I mean? Like, but this is funny. I thought this was good. I was very impressed. And I don't usually read horror. And some of it was a little like, I don't really love it. Just kind of like the descriptions. But like if you like horror stuff, then I think for sure, even if you're not like really big into horror, I still think you'll like it. So that's without really getting into spoilers for Hot Dose of Hell. These videos aren't very good. You can watch them anytime. I really recommend going and buying the book, reading it, and then watching this whenever the hell you want. That, you know, right. One Smoke Broken. So for this one, there is actually a free first chapter up on, and I'm going to have the link to it below, but it's wildislelit.com. And if you just go there, you can have the first chapter. Apparently there's a free audio version. I didn't know that, but I didn't do that. I just read the first chapter for free online, you know, and I'm like, this is worth it. And I really enjoyed the first chapter. The first chapter I think is very strong. In the first chapter, we're introduced to Conti. He is the Lord of Fear, if you will. He's a blind, delusional, evil lord, quote unquote, cave dweller that has sworn revenge on this town that he also sells mushrooms to. And he has this companion, this young girl called Broken, and this is a fantasy world and all that. And Broken is a young girl who has something called the Serpent's Curse. So this means that whenever the sun's out, she's in a lot of pain because her skin starts to like break and bleed, kind of like shedding skin for like a snake, right? And she's really cute. Like if you want kind of like a father-daughter thing, that is definitely a part of this, and it's very cute. And yeah, they just live on the outskirts of this town, and they're kind of wanting to get involved in like more dangerous magic and kind of sorcery and they're trying to get involved into more dangerous magic and sorcery, and they like spy on the townspeople. and there's more stuff going on, but without really like spoiling it, because I don't want to, because like I read the first chapter, I was very intrigued by the world. I thought all this is like really interesting stuff, but I am mixed because I had some pacing issues. There were something I kind of dislike is that I'm not against like morally gray characters, but I do think there are characters that are labeled as morally gray, and then they do the most like horrific acts you've ever heard of, and they're not even like really sorry about it. And even if they say sorry, that doesn't fucking correct that wrong. Like even if they spent their entire life trying to do good, it doesn't balance the scale, right? It just doesn't. So I had some issue with some like morally great characters and how they were handled in the story. And then I had some confusion regarding like some of the magic and the terms, and I would really recommend reading the first chapter, deciding if you want to continue, and then go with that. I would say, yeah, that would be my recommendation, is just to do that. I'm going to start with A Hot Dose of Hell. I'm just going to run through that. Hopefully you've paused the video and have only now returned to it after finishing reading the book and you've enjoyed it. So we'll get into it. I also wanted to say that I have timestamps down below. If you're just here to listen to me talk about One Smoke Broken, you can just move to that timestamp. Or if you just want me to go to Hot Dose of Hell when I actually start the review, just go to that timestamp. There you go. Our book takes place in England. There's a lot I could say about the English. We could, shitpost a little with the Romans. We don't have to. These people, they did rule the world at one point, so maybe we shouldn't bully them too much in case they feel like doing it again. There were some issues because there's no mention of Sharp. There was no mention of I, Claudius. There's no British innkeeper, Watership Down. These are all fairly serious, I at least on every page, some character needs to reference something cool. They need to go like, yes, just like Sean Bean from In Sharp. They should do that, right? But no one does that. But whatever, I'll overlook it, and we'll just talk about the book. That's fine, I guess. But yes, we are in Britain. This is about a sister trying to bring her older sister home. We have Rhonda, and she's looking for her sister Roxy. And our other two protagonists are Fred and Pinky, who are muscle. They kind of work for some criminal organization that runs a brothel, and they are also on the case. And Roxy is a drug addict and prostitute who lives in a derelict hotel with her boyfriend/pimp, Kenny. The plot takes off with Roxy standing outside trying to solicit Johns, and then a John pulls up and he has a lot of drugs in his car, and they take the drugs and just run off because they think they have the score of the century, right? So they do that, and the little twist is that the John, Roxy, and Kenny don't see it, but the John is laughing as they leave. So there's something more at play here. And then we go to Rhonda, and Rhonda works out. She works at a supermarket. She's a bit of a loner. She's kind of lonely, and her goal is to bring her sister home and help her get her life back on track. And she's decided to pair up with this activist group called Leg Up to get help. Not that she really wants them, but she'll take anyone she can get, like anyone that can like drive her there to help her, right? And we get little bits of backstory here and there with Rhonda. I don't think it's too much. It's not too little. I think it's just right, And we learned that Rhonda ended up being adopted when Roxy wasn't. So they were in like foster care, right? I guess a state home. I don't know exactly how you would call it in Britain, but I wanted to. And now I'm just going to kind of bring up page numbers and talk about some stuff that I found. Oh, and Alice is her coworker at the supermarket. This is just a nice exchange. Okay, cool, said Alice, who was down with progressive causes, at least superficially. She wore various bands on her arms for the appropriate months, retweeted all the right things. I'll bring up a few different examples from Stark, but Yeah, good little bits. Page 46. We're kind of cutting back and forth between, like, we have Roxy and Kenny, and then that falls away, and then we're just dealing with Rhonda, and then, like, Freddie and Pinky. These are our main points of view, right? Roxy and Kenny, after stealing the drugs, are now shooting up. Roxy watched Kenny shoot up the way dogs watch people eat. That's good. That's really good. That is a good fucking line. That's great. I like that. We have Rhonda kind of gearing up to meet the leg up people, and she has someone in her apartment complex called Big Greg. I don't know if this is a reference to Big Baza or not, but I like it. I like that there's a Big Greg. 54, we have she's on her way there, and she sees this lone beggar. Strangely, it was a lone beggar who seemed to be pulling the lion's share. A lot of upper to middle class students were crowding him, waiting their turn for candid Instagram snaps showing how generous they could be with their parents' money. The bum was lapping it up. "Thank you very much," he growled in the type of Cockney accent you never hear outside Dickens adaptations. "God bless you, Gov. I hope that she blesses you too," was the very deliberate response from a shaven-headed young woman in a floral dress and combat boots. I don't know. I think some women with shaved heads, they look fine in Britain. So we meet the Leg Up gang, and they're kind of like Scooby-Doo. You know, they go on wacky adventures. They fight for social causes. We have Poppy, who is the leader. She's a woman. She's non-white. She's a controlling bitch. And seems to be probably wealthy. They all seem to be very wealthy, but like a lesbian or bisexual something. We have Jack, who is indiscriminate sex. That's all I can really say about Jack, is that they wear like a cloth face mask, and we don't know what they are. We have Trent, who's probably the most vanilla of them all. He's just kind of there. He has He hides his frail body in the garb of a lumberjack. He wears a straw trilby, which he clearly hoped to be a conversation starter, just like his Pokemon E-Sig. Good stuff. And we have Kibbs. He's the other man. Yeah, I guess we'll call Kibbs a man. Yeah, Kibbs is a man. He is bullied by Poppy and the others. He's kind of like the dog they kick. They're all just hipsters. They all like vaping, and they're all vapid and really horrible, shitty people to each other. They talk about some music. I don't really know a lot about music, but here's something good. "I absolutely adore this version," said Kibbs, gently nodding his head to the band while they continue to neuter Metallica's biggest anthem. "Subversive and touching at the same time," he said, totally flipping the masculine toxicity of the original into something truly poignant and heartfelt, added Trent, to which the others murmured in agreement. We have very good stuff. They're talking about Morosi. I have no idea who this is. Some musician, I guess. But they say that he's literally a Nazi, and Jack feels like he's going to... Jack's not a he. So Jack says, "I feel like I'm going to have to sell my vinyl. Meat is murder, and give the money to BLM." Oh, what was that recently? Fucking Alan Moore. We hate Alan Moore on this channel. You better fucking hate Alan Moore too. That guy's a piece of shit. He's the scum of the fucking earth. League of the Extraordinary Gentlemen, that is god-awful. He wrote something called Lost Girls, which is just Alan Moore being a pedophile. Go figure. But I think he said he's donating a bunch of money to BLM too. I guess to stay relevant. I fucking hate that dude. I really fucking hate that dude. Anyway, let's go on. 62, we get a little more of Rhonda, who knows she needs to conserve her tolerance with these people. Otherwise, she could see herself snapping the way she had with too many people in her past. And we don't get like a full story of Rhonda. We just know she's kind of lonely. We just know she's kind of lonely, and these aren't really people that would make good friends, right? Oh, and we get a little bit with Poppy, who is interested in Rhonda. She's infatuated. She thirstily watches Rhonda go away, and she's quick to put Kibbs back in his place because she doesn't want like competition from him. So that's a little something. So then we cut to Fred and Pinky, who are dealing with a problem at this brothel, and they work for the guys that run it. And here's something good from Fred. Perks of the job, said Fred, just as the road widened and the growth receded, making way for the bright lights of Scarmouth Harbor in the distance. They stood out against the black sea and sky, a blanket of colorful neon. From that range, a person could appreciate the view, but like Fred's last Tinder date, it was far uglier up close. That's good. That's a good line. And Pinky is this huge Polish guy, and Fred is our kind of fat English dude. So there are these guys. They're good. You know, they're not like overly complicated, but they have a little backstory to them, and they're nice enough. I liked them. 84, 85. Oh, okay. We meet Ed, and Ed is like this 5'6", kind of bitch boy who dresses up like he's punk. And then he has a bunch of shit patched onto his jacket. ACAB, Anarchy, Peace, the Extinction Rebellion, Our Class. I have no idea what that means, but I assume something I would hate. But they call Ed their pit bull. I guess he's supposed to be like their fake tough guy. And Ed has painted a swastika over a war memorial. Ed says he's raising awareness of Nazis. Because white nationalists are on the rise. Crime is through the fucking roof. We got a lot of people know it's out there. They talk about like hate crime statistics, and they tell Rhonda to educate yourself on history, and then the monuments, and they say that this is basically a monument to capitalist oppression. We get a little more from Rhonda, a little more of her backstory. Ed calls Rhonda privileged. And Rhonda, to herself, she doesn't tell them because she doesn't want them to be viewed as a victim by these people, is an abuse victim, abuse survivor, and former ward of the state. And, you know, I'm already, like, invested in Rhonda. I want her to make it. I don't think Roxy's going to make it because she's done the drugs already of Kenny. But I'm hopeful that Rhonda's going to get out of here. So they're traveling on their way to Scarmouth. And they're having a freak out because people are they on Twitter or they're on some social media? Let me see. I don't know what social media they're on, but it doesn't matter. Just a bunch of people that follow them are calling them racist to go to Scarmouth because it's a mostly white area. And they say, I suppose it is a bit awkward that the homeless community isn't more diverse. Very good. Very good, very good. Oh, and we do have a Baza on 109. He's one of the homeless that lives on the hotel, and he notices that there's this drone flying around. So there is something more going on. You know, we had the guy with all the drugs in his van, and he's laughing about it, and then we have drones going around. But we do have a Baza. I don't know if he's a big Baza, but he's a Baza. We get a little more about Rhonda. Rhonda says her period in childhood, she avoided looking at herself, but that was when the scars were still fresh. Roxy, the unmarked one, the one mother never struck, and incidentally, the one no one else wanted. And those scars saved Rhonda. And there's a mention of something below where at the time, Rhonda didn't understand why they take such an interest in her over a more attractive sibling. She didn't yet know about Roxy's record about that extreme act of violence, which would put off any potential adopters. I don't know what this means. I don't know what that's referring to. I might have missed it or skipped it. I don't know if this was like Roxy did something to defend Rhonda or something, I would think, but I don't really know. But she lived with a foster family until 16, which I guess, 16, I guess you can do that, where she then lives on her own independently, and she never heard from them again. So she's been on her own since she's 16. So, like, hard fucking life. There's kind of a homeless fight going on, but our guy is Slates, and it's Slates who has, like, maggots in his leg, and it's fucking disgusting. But we get a little bit into Ed's head, who Ed's talking about this stink, who encountered it once before. That time he discovered a dead fox on his father's grounds rotting in the summer sun. So everyone's fucking wealthy in the leg up thing. They all just pretend to be social activists and crap, which isn't new, but just further confirmation of that. They're all fucking rich. Because if you say father's grounds, you don't just mean someone's yard. 130, another good line. There followed another silent stare down, filled with more tension than a fat man's mattress springs. Good sentence. And I thought at first that some of like the SJW crowd, they would be kind of redeemed, or like some of them would be, not all of them, but I thought definitely not Poppy. probably not Jack. I thought maybe Trent, maybe Kibbs, because Kibbs gets beat up by everyone else in the group. So I thought maybe Kibbs would redeem themselves. However, page 149, and Kibbs thinks about a long-forgotten incident, something which had occurred inside a similar derelict structure, one of his father's renovation project, he assumed. The memory was vague, amounting to the chalky feel of dust on his skin and the echo of whimpering. All Kibbs knew beyond that was that he was afraid, although the erection throbbing in his jeans told a different story. I thought at first Kibbs was talking about, like, recalling a rape, that he had been raped, something like that, and it was just this weird, perverted reaction to it. However, page 167, they call Kibbs a homophobe. Kibbs talks about going to Pride every year, and he's kissed men before. And then they get told to shut up, you cunts, by some gruff voice. Ed gets put in his place by some guy called the Pigeon Man. That's good. And, 171. He talks about this girl, Inga, who was like a foreign exchange student who lived with him years ago. And then he remembers her, how she looks lying on the stone floor of that derelict church house, her slight, pale form squirming beneath his elder brother's porcine bulk. I know what porcine means now. It means pig-like. That's a good word. Fighting against it. Kibbs remembered her screams, her cheers, her pleas for help, and he remembered how he held her arms down. So I thought at first Kibbs was a victim. No, he's a fucking monster, and I want him to get killed, and it's good when he gets killed. Like, right on that page, we have Kibbs and Jack dies, but we never know what Jack is, boy or girl. We don't fucking know. Jack is just Jack. Jack just dies. Poppy is running away with Ed, and then Poppy just sacrifices Ed to save herself, and she's such a cunt. There's that. We have 176. Oh, because Trent is not with the SJW crew. Rhonda and Trent are with Slates. They went upstairs in the hotel to go look for Roxy, while the others are afraid, so they're just searching on the ground floor, right? But we have something here with, I thought maybe Trent would be redeemed since the others were not redeemed. Trent is checking out Rhonda's butt. And then there's something here where Rhonda is mentioned having dark hair, olive skin, strong bone structure, and athletic build were in direct contrast to Roxy, who was small, blonde, and fine-featured with a striking alabaster complexion. So, like, they have the same mom, they have different dads, but I don't know. Olive skin just threw me for a moment, but I'm like, no, Rhonda's white. Like, I'm pretty sure Rhonda's white, just because I think the Leg Up crew would not have told her to check her privilege or whatever. You know what I mean? Like how those people like fawn over, like, the darker the skin color, the better. So I think she's white, but just olive skin, that just threw me for a moment. But I don't know. I guess maybe Mediterranean, like her father could be, I don't know, like Italian, something. Spanish, maybe. I don't know. Oh, but 178. I thought maybe Trent's going to do it. Maybe Trent's going to save himself. But this is in Trent's head. Trent understood jiu-jitsu attracted largely working-class types, but he trained privately, one-to-one, paying a rate of 40 pounds an hour to ensure he avoids such people. So Trent's also a cunt. He's not a decent guy. None of them are decent people. And I kind of like that. But I thought maybe one of them will be a decent person. So on 187, Trent seals the deal. He's a worthless piece of shit. He quietly fled with no warning for Rhonda, left behind. And he just runs away when the zombie guy shows up because the drugs are turning everyone into zombies. He was just a step in when he heard sounds of violence from the hall behind, but thought of going back, of helping Rhonda, never occurred to him. So he's terrible. They're all terrible. And then Trent or Poppy are killed, and you're like, hooray, good. These people are fucking awful. Rhonda is the last standing of the Leg Up crew, but she is run into Fred and Pinky, who are trapped in the building because they went there to hunt down the drugs and destroy them for their boss. And Rhonda sees that Roxy is one of the drugified zombies now, and she can see nothing in Rhonda's face, nothing in her eyes. She's gone, and she can't come back. And she just she only has a single tear, right? She only has a single tear, but you can't just completely break down right now because they're in a really horrible situation. And now they're just trapped in the hotel. They're trying to fight their way out, but it's looking really grim. And on page 223, Fred and Pinky, who have had a good back and forth, like they're good friends, Fred ends up sacrificing himself and he tosses Pinky the keys to their van. And all of a sudden, those keys seemed heavier in Pinky's palm. That's good. So on 235, Rhonda and Pinky, they're in the van. They're driving away, but they're zombies, or I'm just calling them zombies just to make it simple. They're driving away with zombies in there with them, and then something's happening to Rhonda. She's feeling very odd, something alien, and you're like, no, 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 no. And by 236, Pinky notices the blackness of Rhonda's eyeballs, and then she sinks her teeth into one of his protruding fingers. From then on, we have essentially from 236 to 260. We have about 24 pages here where we don't have our characters' perspectives. We don't have like a Rhonda, we don't have like a Pinky. We just go to other people or just kind of a more general overlooking point of view, right? So I thought this was an interesting choice to not follow the people we've been with for a full like 20 pages or 24 pages. But I think it's okay. But I was like, oh, like what are we doing now? Because all of our characters are dead. So I don't know. I thought it was a decision. I don't know. Rhonda's dead, or she's a zombie. And it's like later on they say like all of the infected people are dead. So she has to be dead. And my heart sank. I really wanted her to make it. I really wanted her to stop being alone. I wanted her to find Roxy, but I knew that wasn't going to happen. So I at least wanted her to come back. And I don't know. I think she mentioned like Mike the Marine, who she used to work with. I don't know. Something. Just have someone. But now that's going to happen. And it's good. It's good that I was emotionally invested in Rhonda. It was good that the author made me care, that I cared enough that when she died, I'm like, oh, fuck, right? So that's good. It's good. It's sad, but it's good. Essentially, like the police are able to put down all the zombies, but a lot of people get fucking killed. But there's all that. And then we cut to like this control room where you have people that operate drones. We have this guy Hancock, and then we have the guy that was responsible, like the John who had the van with the drugs, he's there. We get a little backstory about that, about they're doing some field test for some people. They're using taxpayers' money for it. I think this stuff is like fine. It's just we're not really with like our guys, right? And then on page 260, we have Herman being attacked by some ghouls, and the ghouls have been there in the background, like they've been like stronger than usual and just like aggressive in the book. And now the ghouls' eyes don't have yellow eyes; they are now black, like the zombie people. So, and Pinky might have made it. He was taken away in an ambulance, which I think is kind of crazy, but he's big enough that maybe, yeah, sure, he could fight his way out. Maybe. At the end of the day, all these ghouls are attacking people, and Herman, the guy who had the drugs, he's going to be killed by them. So it's this really brutal ending. I'm upset about Rhonda's death. I wish she had a better outcome. I kind of viewed this as an apocalyptic ending, and that might be wrong. I might be misinterpreting it, but with the ghouls, I assumed like the ghouls would just spread, and like this would just spread to like all animals, and then now it's just the end. That's the end of humanity. So I kind of view this as like very brutal. There's no hope. Like everyone dies. And like even Pinky, who's in the hospital, won't he just be killed by the seagulls as well? And it's like, do their actions matter in the end? Does any of it matter if this is the ending with the ghouls? Because like the ghouls were already there. They were already infected. They were already going to like kill everyone. So does anything really matter? I don't know. Questions I had. But I don't know. I don't think there can be a sequel unless I'm misinterpreting like the apocalyptic end. And it's just, here are some ghouls that have been infected and they'll kill a lot of people, but there's still like a hope. There's still something to fight for. I don't know. And it doesn't pull its punches, with just bashing some leftists. So that's fun. Fun stuff. And I would definitely read more by this author. So yes, that is A Hot Dose of Hell. And now we're going to move on to One Smoke Broken. Wand Smoke. We have County, our Lord of Fear, our blind man, and we have Broken, his seer. Well, first off, really good intro on the first page, but Broken is heading towards the vault, and the vault is like this cave they live in on the outskirts of town. And soon I hear, and she swims towards the vault, and then soon I hear her dripping at the entry, shuffling impatiently, yet this time she remembers. Her tiny voice calls out to me, Conti, Lord of Fear, hail. And it's just, it's cute. It's really cute. She steps forward and hails him again. Lord of Fear, my eyes are opened. I am your seer. Help me show you what I found. And Conti fights back a smile. A lot of good stuff there between them and their relationship. Yeah, it's just nice. And the townsfolk are very mistrustful of them, obviously. They call Broken his little mushroom-addicted minion, and she has to eat the mushroom caps because it's like pain relief. It's like drugs, but I don't think it's not like malicious, you know? It's the only like kind of thing to help Broken with her problem because she's viewed as like a pest or damaged or, you know what I mean? Not really welcome. But the first thing is about a Mr. Bilar, who's like a banker, and he's done some like necromancy, alchemy stuff, and they want to know what's going on. They want access to this information because they want revenge in all of Sealand, and Sealand is the island they're on. There are a few different cities, and they're just kind of like in this little village, which is like south, because they're like fairies on the island. And the fairies spread like miasma, and that's like poison that turns humans into like elves and like other kind of monsters. So they're just like south of the mountains of like where the old king Olgir or Ogier used to reign. And there's some people still like keep the old king laws or whatever, but it's really good intro, really good first chapter, and then we get into Conti and Broken. They're in town. They're at this little kind of restaurant inn place, and they're there for breakfast. And Broken rests a box of eggs gently onto the bar, then slams down a couple of copper coins, shouting, "The Lord of Fear demands the unborn be scrambled and served with the flayed flesh of a pig belly." And there's a lot of little stuff like that. Conti can see a little. He has like a heat trace, but he cannot. Yeah, he can't like really see, so that's why Broken is there. But they go on this adventure in like some old mines, and they find some stuff. And one kind of thing that threw me off, Conti knows how to make the black flame, and the black flame is like this destructive, like pyromancy stuff. And his people, the clan of the Antler, even though he seems to be the last one of the clan of the Antler, that's what they know how to do. There's something called an alkahest, and you can transmute a substance which reduces all others to their base elements. There's like an Ouroboros. There's something with the divine sun, lapis. I'll get into some of that stuff later on, but like I was a little confused with some of the terms which are just kind of thrown around, and maybe I wasn't paying the best of attention, but I found some like the alchemy magic stuff a little like, wait, what are they doing now? Like, what are they calling upon? Because there's also stuff like within dreams. So that was, some of it's a bit much for me. But while they're on their adventure, Broken talks about, we used to sleep all day and eat ground caps at night, go swimming in the river and spy on the villagers. Now all you want to do is work and study and work. You don't even talk about revenge anymore. About how they were going to burn down the village south and then take on the big cities and then the world, and how they've started to make friends, and Broken feels like she's being left behind. They run into like this kobold in the underground, and County finds something where like he's clairvoyance with like this object he finds. Then there's like a spirit, Ouroboros, and then there's the Ogmine. Well, the Ogmine, that's the Eye of Ogmine, I guess. But a little confused with some of it. But they run into like the spirits of the old king ogre, right, in the mines. And then like through this little adventure where they were kind of looking for treasure, we have Chaka, who is a hob. He kind of like eats corpses, right? So that's like a new companion they have. He gets a sword. This was like... He gets a magic sword. There's like the spirit of Ogier, which is now inside Conti. And then there's the bones of Gerard, who is like the fabled hero who slayed Ogier. And they get all of this stuff all in one go. And I think it's kind of a lot. I thought it was a lot to happen like pretty fast. Anyways, the next chapter is about Broken, and she has decided to leave because she doesn't feel like she really has a place with Conti anymore. I think this is somewhat quick for her. I think this is somewhat fast. But she ends up traveling for a while, and she meets a girl named Rosalind, and we hear about people called Royals who are addicts, and they've basically taken over the town that Rosalind lives in, which is Glassboro. I think it's Glassboro. And we find out that it's Dr. Edgar. Sorry, I don't think I mentioned, but Dr. Edgar was the doctor that Conti, he sold the mushrooms to Edgar, and Edgar would then sell these to the miners. But now that Edgar's gone, Conti just has to sell directly. And now Edgar is behind all this stuff in this town, and Broken promises to come back to save Rosalind, her friend. And I felt like it was a little fast. I thought it was a little fast to be just friends with this girl, and then also I thought it was a little fast and not horrible, but could have used a little more pacing, I guess. Oh, all right. 117. There are these people called the Mystics, and they're kind of like charlatan magicians, but their leader is called Verva, and they've come to study under Conti, and he doesn't want anything to do with them. Conti says, "We've only ever had terse interactions before today, and this is the first time I've ever asked her about herself." So he asked her about herself a little bit. Verva just goes really deep into her backstory, and it's really intimate and personal, and it felt too fast here, where she's talking about her sister and her sister being killed and all of that, and then it's a little too neat and convenient. I felt like maybe they have to interact a bit more. And then after a few times, maybe Verva would open up with something like this. So there's that. Oh, and Ogier apparently had the one magic eye, which, Conti can now see because of the magic eye. But Ogier only had one magic eye, and it drove him insane. Conti tries to remember what things were like before I was exiled from the inner caves. So we don't exactly know what happened with the rest of the clan of the Antler, or why he was exiled from the inner caves, but they're good little hints here. I think that's done well. They're just kind of sprinkled in here and there. Characters are on the verge of tears too often in this book. It's Grant, it's Verva. For Broken, it's fine. She's a little girl. That's fine. For Conti, during moments of extreme distress, I think that's also fine. But overall, characters are on the verge of tears too often. Verva's on the verge of tears here. And, there's at the bottom of this page, it's, and for letting us get locked away in these cages, but that's for later. I don't really, love this kind of time skip stuff it's a movie, you know what I mean? Where it's here's 3 minutes of, whoa, what the hell's going on? And then jerk back, and now we're in the present. How do we get there? I don't think that's really necessary. They're on this mission to go now arrest Dr. Edgar, who's the drug dealer of Glassboro, right? So they're on this mission now. Something that they're doing is they're trying to start a slave revolt to help break up Glassboro, and I don't know if I agree with that or think that's great. I mean because it's they use the fairies as slaves, and their lives aren't great, but all of the fairies we've met have been pretty fucking evil and hurt humans and everything, so I don't feel too bad for them. But they're starting the slave revolt, and I don't know if they're fully considering the consequences of something like that, but it is what it is. But we finally get to Glassboro on 268 or so, and the town is now overrun by the royal people, and royal meaning the drug addicts. And they have now been turned to fungal mushroom people. And it's this absolute hellscape. It's crazy. And Broken just cares about taking revenge for Rosalind and her family. And I'm that's a really strong emotion for people that you don't know super well. I think she knew Rosalind for a day, 2 days or so. Maybe they spent more time together, like they were better friends. That would make more sense. It makes sense that she would like care, but I don't know about like, invading a town for her. Edgar's turned it into a complete hellscape, right? But they end up capturing Edgar and they're bringing him back to Village South so he can be put on trial. But when they get back to Village South, we have the King of the Kobolds. So while they were gone, they've been under siege from kobolds, the same kobold that they ran into early on in the book. And there are partisans stand like spikes jutting from the frozen ground. A deputy mounted on each and every one, 18 in total, their bodies bloated and overflowing with bloody foam and fluids. So they get back, and these kobolds aren't just like, hey, we want our freedom or whatever, because they weren't even slaves in the Village South. They didn't have fairies in the Village South. But they have murdered 18 dead deputies, and they've hung and they've placed their bodies there. They're just really fucking evil. We have Grant, sorry. Oh my God, I'm forgetting so much. Grant is the constable, and he's very serious. He's very lawful, but he wants to resign because he failed the town, and he starts weeping. And again, I think people are just prone to crying too much, especially for Grant. He's a guy, and I don't know. I don't feel like he would cry here, but I think crying is just used a little too much. But like from 287 willing to resign and being told to do his job and not resign, on 291, Grant and this alchemist want to use people who have been hurt by the kobolds as like bait for the kobolds to kill them. And it's like, that's a pretty fast turnaround to go from resigning to wanting to sacrifice a bunch of people. One of the so they have like this plan against the kobolds, but it's sort of not working. And one of the people that's with them is being tortured and killed by the kobolds, and they just have to watch. And they're just like horrible fucking monsters. Like this guy can't defend himself, but they're just brutalizing him. But Conti doesn't want to kill the king of the kobolds. He says, but I'm done living my life for revenge. There's a better way to end this. And I'm like, these people have murdered 18 deputies. These people are 18, and then that mystic, and hurt a lot more people. They're not like morally gray. They're fucking evil. So this is just some like what I would call like bullshit morality in the book that kind of pissed me off. It's like, no, the kobolds aren't like, there's no debate there. You just slaughter them. They're really fucking evil. And then we have on 310, Conti didn't want it to end this way. We saved the town, but why doesn't it feel like it? It's like, probably because you didn't kill all the kobolds. That's probably why, because he's forced to kill the head kobold. But I really didn't like it. This was like a kind of turning point for me a little bit. Whatever the people's reasons, they elected him to treasurer, and immediately afterward, a public council meeting was held about what to do with Edgar and the kobolds. 2 verses 1. Domhnall and Thomas voted that the prisoner should be sentenced to work in the mines of Oldhome, and that I should be appointed warden since I own the property. I think this is stupid. I think this is really gay. Edgar is responsible for killing hundreds, if not thousands of people, if not directly, then indirectly through his drugs in Glassboro. He's not remorseful whatsoever. He's just evil. Not really debatable. He's just evil. He's hurt so many people. And the kobolds have murdered at least like 19 people, probably a lot more. And they've just hurt many more people and burned down a lot of houses and shit. But they're being sent to work in the mines. That's bullshit. That was pretty bullshit for me. But they're going on like another quest to get some more treasure, and they're going to like where old King Oger's home used to be, while the old king has been like inside Conti and trying to get Conti to do bad stuff, or trying to use him as like a vessel, and he won't do it. But they are ambushed when they get to the old king's fortress. And then Conti loses the eye of Amjin, which is what they got like really early on when they had Chaka, found the old king's soul. So there's that, and now Conti is blind. And 356, there's never been like a cure for broken skin, like her serpent's curse problem. However, her being covered in fey blood works to make the serpent's curse go away. It's not a permanent cure, but I thought that was a little easy because they just talked about like finding a cure for broken, and then a few pages later they find it. I think it works, like, to have something that helps her out. Maybe split it up so like they talk about a cure earlier on, and then, hey, this thing just happened, instead of like the timing is a little convenient. I guess I would say that. Broken is talking about the kobolds back home seem happy to be slaves. Sometimes I forget that they burned down houses, killed a bunch of townsfolk, and cursed a bunch more. But like I said, they're good now and happier. Conti doesn't correct this. No one corrects this. And I'm like, yeah, they murdered people. They murdered like your neighbors. They murdered people that everyone knew. And no one's really talking about it. And like the characters acknowledge it. And it's really bizarre to me. So they get back to the vault. They get back home. And then, welcome back. Their joined voices rush to meet us as soon as we're through the black glass doors. It's Verva and Van and Thomas and everyone. Edgar and all the kobolds. And I'm like, Edgar, the drug dealer who was responsible for a lot of people dying and turning into monsters, and the kobolds who killed a bunch of people that Broken even acknowledges, they're greeting them like they're just townspeople, like they're friends. And it's like, really doesn't work. And none of them ever apologized, even though that doesn't make it right. But it doesn't, yeah. None of that works. And Edgar's just kind of like talking, like he's like a little like talking and like helping Conti, and it's just like, oh, he's just one of the guys, he's just like a member of the crew. Really doesn't work for me. But now the town is under assault by Oger, who now has the eye, and he's like sending us a little army after them. But Grant, the constable, is gone like fucking crazy, like he's trying to shoot and kill Verva, the mystic lady, and he's just gone completely nuts. Broken thinks about Conti and me could have ended up just like him. We had a plan and everything. Tunnels we found that spanned underneath the village south that we had dug closer to the surface, and they're intended to plant satchels of the black flame and waiting for the day of ultimate vengeance. And this is something where they try to like justify like going easy on like the villains like Edgar and those kobolds, because they could have gone evil as well. They were planning on going evil, but they never really hurt anyone. They never hurt anybody, and that's the difference. While they were planning to do really bad shit, they ultimately didn't do it, and that's what counts. It's a pretty big difference. Like, if they had hurt some innocent people and then decided to go good, I could understand their morality more. But when you're confronted with like evil like that, you just put it down. It's not really morally gray. It's not really up in the air. While Grant is all like gung-ho about defending the village and fighting off the monsters attacking, the second the old king advances, Grant like flies to the feet of Oger and promises him like loyalty, even though like you stood against his army like just like a page or two later, and like we're fighting pretty hard against it. So that's a little weird to me, where it's like you obey the old king, but you fight against the old king's army. So I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of like alchemy stuff and kind of magic going on. Here's something from Conti. I am the vessel, the prima materia become rotundum. The lost pages of the furtive opus are found. I am they, the spirits. His hand opens from around the amulet to reveal a second eye of the Amjin. And this kind of stuff is somewhat confusing for me. I don't know. I was always a little lost when I was like kind of magic or alchemy or that type of stuff. But that's the end. They beat Oger. But in the epilogue, we have on page 404, after a week's deliberation on the part of the citizens, it was decided that Dr. Edgar should be made to serve his prison sentence as steward, since he's the most educated and familiar with city life. What the fuck? Setting aside Len and the other elixir-related deaths. What the fuck? Man, what the fuck? Like, and Kanji's like a little surprised by that, but I'm like, this guy's fucking evil. He's fucking evil. Oh, and Ashlyn or Broken becomes marshal of the town, even though she's like a very young kid. She's still a very young kid, and yeah, she's shown some initiative. She's like somewhat mature. She's still a child. That also does not work for me. If she was a bit older, like a late teenager, I could kind of understand it, but she's still like a child. So that doesn't really work. That's the book. There's really good stuff with Broken and Conti. That stuff's good. I do have some pacing problems, definitely some morality problems in how some characters are handled. I'm a little confused with some of the magic stuff. Would I read more? Maybe. I think maybe I would read more about Wand Smoke. It's kind of up in the air. Overall, like I thought it was pretty decent. The editing pretty good. Small scraps. Small scraps is just little editing errors. I only had like 3, but page 95. Sometimes the royals too try to climb the fence to get in. There's a problem. Page 130. Edwin takes the money without counting it. Unheard of a merchant. Unheard of for a merchant. Page 216. I'm clutching my stomach, hot blood steaming, spilling onto my cloak, my hands the ground. I'm just staggering, woozy. I don't think you can say I'm stagger. I don't think that works. No. But there's definitely some intrigue, like what happened with the rest of Conti's clan, and what's going to go on with Broken and Conti next, or what's going on with Sealand. There's definitely like balls in the air, and I'm interested. Less serious problems to like fairly serious, so it's just that's why it's kind of mixed. That's why it's kind of mixed for me. I still think it's a really good first chapter. That was definitely a interesting hook. Somewhat mixed on it. I'm somewhat mixed on it because there's definitely good parts in there. I might have another Trough video this weekend. I will definitely have like a movie video. It might be it could be a few different movies. We'll see. But that's going to be it for me. Thanks for watching. Dr. Infinity out.
Bye-bye, Claw. All right, you can go now.
Wicked woman! Wickedness! Here, what's this? Augustus will! Who stole it? He's lost! Will! Poison his queen!